I expect a few questions must have arisen at this point. The first question: does degradative psychosis, that's the aggravation of SPM, symbolic psyche psychosis, occur solely as a result of anxiety overload? Can a degradative psychosis with a subsequent personality change occur for another reason, even spontaneously? No. Nothing in the nature happens without a reason. Everything that we observe in the nature and the psyche, its immanent part, is a logical sequence in which the next stage of the sequence always results from the previous one. Thanks to this, the science is possible and meaningful. So the answer to the above question is as follows. The emergence of a new SPM, symbolic psyche psychosis, must always be preceded by the collapse of the previous SPM, symbolic psyche, which in turn takes place as a result of anxiety overload. In addition, each subsequent SPM, symbolic psyche psychosis, must logically be deeper than the previous one, as the lighter form must be necessarily followed by the deeper one. A degradative psychosis cannot happen spontaneously without a reason. It's always the result of an unbalanced anxiety overload. Second question: does the negative primary psychosis, called as depression, occur only by the type 2 people, the type 2 humanity? Would type 1 and type 3 people be free from the risk of a depression, now called negative primary psychosis? That's right. Just as the type 2 people are not subject to the process of SPM degradative psychosis, the type 1 and type 3 people will never develop depression. In the case of the type 3 people, attention should be paid to some possibility of poorly expressed forms of reaction to anxiety overload specific to type 1 and to type 2. But first reaction is always by type 3 people, the episodic and somatic psychosis. Third question: is any of the three humanities more likely to develop a simultaneous polysymbolic psyche, simultaneous polysymbolicity, in the current nomenclature called as schizophrenia or schizophrenia circle disorders? The appearance of the simultaneous symbolic me of the psyche is an expression of the brain capacity for spontaneous parallel polysymbolism. As we remember, I have already explained this, it's not literally parallel because the human brain does not have the ability to express two different symbols at the same time. I have also explained many times why it can only produce one symbol at a time. Thus, the parallel symbolic psyche PSPM is parallel to the SPM symbolic psyche in that the expression of the PSPM is intertwined with the expression of the SPM at a given time interval. The brain cannot emit symbols belonging to both the PSPM and the SPM in the same time. The phenomenon of PSPM is identical to the sleep phenomenon of sleepy symbolic psyche SSPM, with the difference that PSPM occurs parallel to SPM during waking period, and the SSPM, sleepy symbolic psyche, occurs in parallel to SPM during sleep. Some people's brains seem not to recognize the waking period from the sleep period, and therefore a parallel to the symbolic psyche appears awake exactly as it appears normally only in sleep as SSPM. I repeat, some people's brains seem not to recognize the waking period from the sleep period, and therefore a parallel to the symbolic psyche me, so PSPM appears awake, exactly as it appears normally only in sleep as sleepy symbolic psyche me, SSPM. Thus, while SSPM is common to all people, PSPM can appear in the people with impaired brain recognition of sleep and wakefulness. The division into three types of humanity reflects three different ways of responding to a fundamental problem of the human psyche, which is the problem of anxiety. The disturbance of waking sleep recognition by the brain only seemingly does not seem to have any connection with the anxiety problem. We see soon.